Okie dokie. All right. Okay, so let's see. How am I going to do this? If you're a great-grandmother, would you stand? Oh, come on. There you are. Stay standing. If you are a grandmother, stand and stay standing. If you are a mother, stand and stay standing. If you are serving in the role of maternal love, divine feminine, no, don't sit down, to children or furry four-legged beasts or winged creatures, stand. If you have ever used the word mother in a conversation, stand. Come on now. If you have a mother, stand. If you've ever been called mother, then stand. All right, so happy Mother's Day, happy Other's Day. Now sit down. And for those of you, whether you are gender-based, role-based, or any other based, we have Hershey's hugs and kisses for you as you exit today. So make sure you get your chocolate, because in this prayer for America, chocolate helps. Now, as I get prepared to talk here, I want to share with you a friend of mine who is a mother. You're a grandmother. Yep. And she is a dear friend of this church. I am initiating an intermittent thing that we're going to do on some Sundays of good news. And so this is Susan Berger, who is going to share with you briefly about an experience she had that is all about good news. Welcome her.
And thank you, Susan. That was just amazing, but beautifully composed. I'm happy to have the same name as you. So this is about good news, and I was going for Christmas to my older sons in Michigan, and I got everything ready, and then I realized I'd lost my wallet, and I could not find it anywhere, and it had money in it, like $200, because I'd been to the grocery store to buy money, and no bank near me. I am in Comerica, and there's not a branch near me that has an ATM. Out of the way. So anyway, I finally realized I was not going to find it before the trip, but fortunately, I have a passport. So I used my passport, but no ATM card, couldn't get any more. And I went, and I had a wonderful time with my son, and then I went to my in-laws in Texas. And they're MAGA, and it's okay, because I know they love this country. They just love it differently. We can't agree, but I'm not losing my friends over that. So my MAGA sister-in-law said to me, well, you need to pray to St. Anthony. If you pray to St. Anthony, you will find the wallet. And so I prayed to St. Anthony. And I got home, and there was a pile of mail for me, and in that was a package. And my wallet was in there with all the money and everything, and it was anonymous. I have no idea who sent that back to me. The return address was my own. But there's still good people out there, and some of them are MAGA, even if we don't agree with them. We don't want to do that, because more anger doesn't help.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I'll take that. All right. That works. That absolutely works. Okay, so this is my Mother's Day talk. Let me see. Let's get this going. Do you need to put that first slide up, or do I? Talk amongst yourselves. There. No, let's go back. There. Wherefore art thou, compassionate generosity? Happy Mother's Day. Happy Other's Day. Now, everybody breathe. So this is a month of power and abundance. And abundance doesn't just mean money. It's a spiritual and mental mindset. Mother's Day is a perfect time to deepen our understanding of how that divine sublime within us is ever seeking to be born within us. as all that we desire, all that we love, all that we want. So how do we midwife the birth of that divine within us? How do we bring it forth in strength and in wisdom and wholeness and love? It all begins with a decision. It begins with a decision. So I want to tell you about my grandmother. My maternal grandmother was born in 1891 in Australia. She was the youngest of 8 children. She married my grandfather and came to this country right during the time of, during and after World War I was approximately. So he was away a lot. He was in the Merchant Marines. He was a radio officer. And so she had 3 children. And during the Depression, this was rather a challenge. So she didn't have a lot of money. They didn't have a lot of money. My grandfather, we called him Pom Pom. You know how kids name their grandparents? Yeah, my brother couldn't say grandpa, so he became Pom Pom. He couldn't say granny, so she became Bandy. And she was Bandy to everybody in our neighborhood, by the way. Everybody, most people didn't even know her real name, and I didn't till I was probably in my teens. But, so we had Bandy. Anyway, during the Depression, these 3 children, she was always looking at ways to save money or to just even have enough money to buy groceries, to do what they needed to do. And it was very tough. They lived in Glendale. And so one day she happened to overhear a conversation. Somebody was talking about Christian Science. And she now she was raised Roman Catholic. She was an good Irish girl in Australia. And she was raised Catholic. And as she was listening to this discussion about Christian Science, what she heard was, they never go to doctors. They don't go to doctors. And that was the part that she took in. And she thought, oh my God, that would save us so much money. So when she got home, she decided, okay, that's what we're going to do. And she announced it to the family. We are now Christian Scientists. We don't get sick. And they did not. Throughout the whole Depression, they did not get sick. They never had a medical bill because this was her decision. It took a decision. It was her decision. So remember, she was not even part of the conversation. She just eavesdropped and said, from now on, we don't get sick. So it informed not just her life during that time, but well after. So she and my mom later on discovered religious science. They took classes and they deepened their understanding, their awareness, and they practiced growing their awareness of a presence and a power that surrounds and fills all life and animates everything that is both seen and unseen, always, in all ways. That was their journey. They practiced that, and it was a decision. Now, there's a phrase that we have heard a lot in this teaching. There is a power for good in the universe, and we can use it. Now, we have been hearing those words for a long time, or if you're new, this may be the first time that you are hearing it. But they are fundamental words. They are fundamental that we can decide to invite into our thinking, into our feeling, into our believing, in order to create lives of mastery, of dominion, and peace. In other words, wholeness. And what we look for is wholeness, or what we desire is wholeness in every area of our lives. Not just in the physical, that's absolutely prime, but in the financial, in our relationships, in our peace of mind, in our spirituality, in the way we are in the world, and beyond that, beyond these physical boundaries that we call our bodies, that we know that there is a power and presence for good that surrounds and fills everything, everywhere, all the time, always, in all ways, in our country, in our leaders, for everything that goes on in this world. Right so far? Yes. That's a decision. That's a decision. And even if we don't make that decision, it is the truth. It is absolutely the truth. Now, what I want to ask is, have we decided to live from that deep truth? That we are here not just to emulate or talk about the divine, that presence and that power, and feel really happy for an hour after church? Or have we made the decision to be here as the divine in full, unapologetic expression? Have we made that decision? And I want to tell you something. It's not a one-off. It's every day, Sometimes it's every hour. And sometimes if you are watching the news, it's going to be every 3 minutes or less. It's going to happen a lot. Have we made the decision, and if we have made the decision, or if we have been willing to make that decision, have we also made the decision to nourish that decision, to support the decision in ways that absolutely will allow us to confirm that knowing, to confirm that knowledge, to confirm the bias towards good, towards love. Because we need to nourish our faith, our understanding, our very souls in ways that midwife, in an ongoing basis, that magnificence, that glorious magnificence that lies within us. Have we done that? Are we doing that? Are we doing that? Have we made the decision to be congruent with the ideas and spiritual practices and life practices that are going to create within ourselves an environment, a space for wholeness? Because it's very easy, as I read from that very first passage when we started the service today, it's very easy to get caught up in that which we see out in the world. It's very easy to do that and to not remember that there's a deeper truth, that there's a greater truth. It's very easy to embrace the news. And you know the rule. If you're going to watch the news, consider everything that you hear as a prayer request. And this idea of a prayer for America, let me just say this. We don't pray here in a way that we say, oh, come on, God, please just make it better. Oh, my God. We don't do that. But what we do is we embrace the qualities and the knowing deep within that says wholeness, love, freedom, peace. We live in and as that, and thereby we create the space for that to come forth. We midwife it. We are creating a womb. If you come at Christmas, one of the talks that I always give leading up to Christmas, and the talk is always different, but I love the title, so I can't get away from it. The title is A Clear and Present Manger. So are you creating on an ongoing basis a manger ready to birth and to support and to nurture this idea of wholeness in yourself, in this country? Are you willing to do that? Because that takes a decision. So what I see is that we really want our lives to feel good. We want them to look good. We want to be able to experience joy. But until we develop that spiritual and mental muscle to be an active place that courts and embraces and supports wholeness, we are not going to have it. We're going to be out of alignment with that idea and that experience. We have to build an interior infrastructure that's strong enough and deep enough to support our lives and our decisions to be whole. In other words, if we don't do the work, we're not going to be getting the blessing. I got to do the work. And that means that we actively practice living from the love that surrounds and fills us, whether or not we feel it. And that's the idea of this compassion and generosity piece. That's the idea. And here's what I want all of us to know, whether this is your first time here or your 3,001st time here, which would make you really wisdomous, very... You and I don't make it happen. We don't make happen. We don't make peace happen. We don't make wholeness happen. We don't make health happen. We don't do that. We don't heal this. We don't heal that. What we do is we seek to find all of those ways that we can develop a more ongoing, constant, consistent, oh my God, whole idea of the presence of God. That presence is what does the work. We are responsible for knowing that God is present everywhere, in all ways, always. That is our responsibility. And it is in that realization of wholeness, it is the realization of presence in which healing happens. It is in that. You and I don't have the responsibility to go out and touch someone on their forehead and say, be healed, brother. I mean, you can if you want, but unless you are abiding in a deep, conscious, active presence of God, or whatever you call this this infinite nature that resides within and around you, unless we are residing in that and letting it inform us and guide us. In other words, there's a power for good in the universe and we can use it. However, are we letting it use us? If we are not residing in that, then that healing at best is going to feel good, but may not actually land. I want healing to land. So our world these days is filled with lots of opportunities to embrace anything and everything that doesn't look like, feel like, or in any way reveal the innate love, that compassion and generosity that stands as the foundation for those words. There's a power for good in the universe, and we can use it. This is my spirit animal. Pope Leo is my spirit animal. I'm not Catholic, never have been, never will be, I'm sure. But this is what his wisdom brings me. Peace is a breath of the eternal. Oh my. Let us disarm words, and we will help to disarm the world. Think about that. Think about that. And by the way, I also consider Rumi, Mother Teresa, and Jason Momoa as my spirit animals. Rumi for the wisdom, Mother Teresa for her loving service, and, well, Jason Momoa is just really hot. I mean, come on. So, this mother heart of Mother's Day is not gender-based. It's not even, do you have children, grandchildren? It's none of that. It is not limited to the females of the species, thank God. It is the divine feminine, and it is part of the spiritual DNA within each of us. The divine feminine is the receptive, generative ground of all being, the womb of possibility in which everything that will ever live must first be held in silence. And the deep knowing, that's the deep knowing that everything is connected to everything else. We replicate that here as a community. That is the first priority here as a community. I know that almost every minister, myself included, as we finish our training, as we step into ministry and we are serving, we are thinking, I'm going to teach, I'm going to raise the world with this vibe, it's going to be great, I'm going to be doing classes, I'm going to be doing this, and I'm going to shift and lift and transform and blah, 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 blah. You know what? That's all trash. Because the only thing that really matters is creating community. That's it. I might be able to slide in about 3% of wisdom in here. And if you want to go deeper, we take classes and we invite you to workshops and that stuff. But you know, the real purpose of church, the real purpose of spiritual community is community. Because we have to come together. We are connected. We are here to love, to support, and as I said earlier, to recognize the wholeness that resides within each of us, that divine wholeness, the innate divinity as beings of God. That's what we do here. We also work out all of our stuff here with each other because we are reflections of each other. We are reflections of the stuff that's working and the stuff that's not working. But that's community. And so we practice here and then we go out into the world and breathe a lot. Sometimes we have to hyperventilate a lot. But we still bring with us that knowing. Now we have created what Ernest Holmes would call the mental equivalent of what community feels like when we know we are fully connected. So Buckminster Fuller was one of the great visionary minds of the 20th century, and he said something that I really loved. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Right? And I have used this quote before, and I live by this quote because I think it's so powerful. He understood that before a new structure can rise, before we can build something new, the old one has to fall away. And that means within our thinking first. Before we can begin to create a vision of who we are as divine beings, as whole beings, or create a vision and live into it as healthy, prosperous, loved and loving, we need to allow for the stuff that would lie in the middle of that or underneath it to fall away. That's why we do so much deep mental work. That's why we do so much spiritual work, so that those things, those ideas, those stones in our shoes can be taken out, can be dissolved, so that we can travel into a deeper awareness, and to do that with power and with a sense of staying powder. Staying powder. No powder, power. Power, staying power. Okay, I swear I've talked before. So the thing is, this structure, the old one has to fall away. Not just reformed around its edges or patched in these obvious places, or argued with it and, endlessly in a public circumstance like we often are, but genuinely and completely released the way a tree, dig this, releases its leaves when it's done with them. That's easy release, isn't it? That's easy release. That's not necessarily like doing a root canal on your beliefs. It may feel like that sometimes, but it's about allowing the greater truth to bring that which might be in its way to the present moment, to the surface, so that it can be replaced with clarity, So what I think we are witnessing right now in our politics, our institutions, and our relationships with each other and with this planet is that falling away. It is terrifying, and it is necessary, and it is, if we can find the eyes to see it, profoundly hopeful. Profoundly hopeful. So the question isn't whether the old structure is crumbling, because it clearly is. It clearly is. The question is, who are we going to be while it crumbles? Who are we going to choose to be? And then, what are we quietly building in its place? Because while the outside is falling away, the inside, we can go ahead and construct that. That's what we call living into the vision. That's what we call living into the vision. That's why we have these clear ideas. And many of us, you might have your vision boards, and you might have your different ways of invoking a sense of that thing which you wish to have, to own, to become, and to live as. But it is that we are doing the work here first. Because the outer is crumbling away. It really is. And no, it's not easy. In fact, what's the phrase? All things must pass. It may pass like a kidney stone, but it's going to pass. So as we honor the divine feminine this day, let us also understand that the divine masculine is not about destruction. It's not about damage, aggression, conquering, or violence. Okay? The divine masculine is the principle of focused, purposeful action, moving from genuine inner authority rather than fear or the need to control. Who knew? Did you know that? And there's a difference between divine masculine and patriarchy. Just consider that. The divine masculine is that creative power that offers an idea and helps to grow that idea as it is brought forth from the universal womb of the divine feminine. And an old archetype is dying to the new. Every culture organizes itself around a dominant archetype, all right? So, and that's an unconscious agreement. This is what we have going on, I believe, right now, about what power looks like, what success means, and what kind of human being is most valued and most feared. This is the archetype that we are consciously seeking to dissolve because it serves really no one, because it's not sustainable, and it's not true. And yet, because it is fear-based and fear-constructed, it can often look like it is really, really powerful and has all the power. So it has organized Western culture for several thousand years. And whether we know it intimately or not, we have all been shaped by it, whether we wanted to or not. It's this archetype of domination. It's of conquest, of one who wins by making others lose, who is strong by making others small, who is certain by making others wrong. Does that sound familiar? It is the archetype that built empires and enslaved populations and called both of those things civilization. It's the archetype that told men their feelings were weakness, told women their wisdom was irrelevant, and told the earth it was a resource to be extracted rather than a mother to be honored. Okay. This is the archetype that most of our institutions, our economic systems, our political structures, our religious hierarchies, we're all built to serve and protect and to protect. And it has been this position of cultural dominance for so long that many of us have simply assumed it was human nature rather than a very old and very destructive story we have been telling ourselves. It's very easy, as we talk about here a lot, to become so entranced with the story that we literally become hypnotized by it, and we do not awaken to the glory that lies underneath it, the truth of who we are and what is possible. You know, it's very seductive to be separate from God, because then we get to go with all of the drama. We get to tell our stories. Then we get to get people. We get to galvanize and get other people on our team. Do you believe what he said? Can you believe what she did to me? Can you believe that? And so we gather our forces around us, right? That's patriarchy, by the way, and it doesn't have anything to do with gender. So we do assume mistakenly that that's what that divine masculine is. It is not. It is not. So we know it is that focused, purposeful action moving through us. The divine masculine is at its best, not the opposite of the divine feminine. It is its devoted partner. So we come into a balance, because that balance is actually what is already at residence within us. It is the source of who we are. It is the truth of who we are. It is the truth of the greater capital T truth of this world. It is the spiritual reality, that capital R reality. And yet, very hard to convince yourself of that if what you have been ingesting with the thought that this will nurture me, this will keep me going, are the ideas that are opposite to that. Yeah? Does that make sense? Okay. This archetype is exhausting itself, thank God, not because good people finally defeated it, though good people have been fighting it heroically for generations, but because domination at its core is a fundamentally unsustainable way to organize a living system. We are in a living system, and it is fluid, it is dynamic, and it is powerful. And we cannot endlessly extract without emptying the source, right? We cannot endlessly suppress without eventually generating an explosion. You cannot endlessly insist on a reality that isn't real without eventually colliding with the truth. So we are in the midst of the collapse. So if it feels hard, if it feels scary, it's because it is. That's the outer, small r, reality. So give yourselves a pat on the back for surviving this far and for remembering how to breathe and how to tie your own shoes, because it's very, very distractive. And we also are moving out of the idea that power only belongs to some people. And the resistance to that is, we're seeing it in the resurgence of racism, which has always been domination's most reliable tool, and its most ancient, persistent lie. The claim that some human beings are more human than others. So it's not new, and every serious student of history recognizes this pattern. Howard Thurman understood this, and writing as a black man in America before the civil rights movement, he knew that the machinery of domination always reveals its true nature most clearly when it feels threatened, because the mask comes off. We are in the middle of the demasking from the truth that is less than God, the truth that is less than whole, the truth that is less than that supreme magnificence of which we are all created from and as. So the thing is, we must not turn away from it, because this is where we begin to see that the mask is coming off, but recognize that we're all trying to live consciously, spiritually, and peacefully in the midst of it. That's pretty crazy sometimes, isn't it? So what I know is that there are times, there it is, that I feel like George Costanza's father in Seinfeld. Y'all remember that? And I'm yelling, serenity now, peace now. love now, compassion now. And that's quite the aggressive. But we go there, right? Serenity now. If you didn't see it, then don't worry about it. So there's a question for us. Are we willing to do the inner work so that we can build a new infrastructure? It's the interior work instead of outer action. It doesn't mean we don't do that outer action, but we need to go within first. We have to go within first. It's the foundation, because if we don't do that, the outer work burns out. It becomes bitter, or most dangerously begins to replicate the very energy it's trying to dismantle. Catch that. It can replicate that which it's trying to dismantle and dissolve. So here's the great reality of life. You and I cannot defeat the archetype of domination by dominating it. That's not going to do it. So Ernest Holmes understood that consciousness is causative, that the inner life is not merely a reflection of outer conditions, but at a deep level, it is the source for those outer conditions. And that means that our collective consciousness that tolerates and perpetuates those systems that are so painful, that consciousness must shift. And it belongs to you and I. It belongs in those human beings who decide, those individuals who decide to remember from the deepest remembering that we are spiritual beings, that we are spiritual beings first. Before anything can be made, space must be prepared to receive it. And this is Ernest, pure Ernest Holmes. He's not speaking abstractly. He's speaking clearly and definitely. And it's to something as old and as practical as farming, right? Farmer doesn't make the corn grow. No amount of willpower or urgency or force can produce a single ear of corn. What the farmer does, what he spends most of his time doing, is preparing the ground. The farmer removes what doesn't belong. She loosens what is hardened. They create the conditions in which something living can emerge, and then they trust the process to do what the process does. The feminine principle, the divine feminine, is that ground. It is that ground, the receptive, patient, generative earth in which everything that will ever live must first be held. We prepare the space. We prepare the space. If we want to shift, we must prepare the space for shifting. This moment is extending an invitation to each and every one of us from that prepared ground, that cleared and receptive space. Will we act? Will we build? Will we stand with those who are most vulnerable? See, this doesn't mean we don't take action in the world, but we do it from this sense of clarity, of intention, of love, knowing that we are part of a greater connection of life. And the question also asks, will we take care of each other in ways that quietly and persistently demonstrate that another way of being human is not just possible, but already right here, underway now? And I believe that it is inner daily work, and it is the most important work we will ever do. It's the most important work, because from that interior ground, that new infrastructure, from that shifted consciousness, from that place of the genuine rather than performative values, we act, we love, we show up, and we build. What are you going to build? What are you going to build? Not what are you going to fight, but what are you going to build? What does your new structure look like? What does it feel like? How does it distribute power and love and treat other people? How does it hold the people it's meant to serve? This crumbling that we're in is not the end of the story. It's not the end of the story. It's making room for the next chapter, and we're the ones who are going to write it. That's both individually and globally. Individually and globally. This is where we listen for the still small voice and build from the ground of our deepest knowing and trust what is quietly and stubbornly wanting to be born within us. It is that divine feminine within each of us, and it is wanting to build. Everything worth building has always started here. So this week I was at a spiritual retreat for ministers and spiritual leaders. I was at Unity Village in Lee Summit, Missouri. And it was rather inspiring, and it was uplifting. And one of the things that I discovered was a quote that is so powerful. So the co-founder of Unity, if you know anything about Unity, it's another part of this new thought thing that we're all a family of. Myrtle Fillmore, she wrote these words. You have it within you to do all you need to do. Get at it. Get at it. In fact, we all walked around for the rest of the week looking at each other going, get at it. Get at it. And it's a decision. Get at it. Get at that decision. I want you to turn to each other and just say, get at it. Get at it. Get at it. And don't be surprised at how quickly the universe moves once you do. So, get at it. And so it is. Thank you. All right, let's pray. This is a good time to pray. Our prayer is a realization of the presence already active within us, already present. We do not pray to God, we pray from God, from that deep residence. That deep resonance. And I recognize that there is one infinite presence and power that surrounds and fills all life and is constantly individualizing itself through each being, everything created on this planet, including everyone in this room and including me. That we are here to be divine, clear, powerful expressions of that. And we say yes, and we get at it. We get at the realization of our divinity. We get at the knowing that we are not victims, that we are victorious in this place of knowing, of owning, and being the truth in action. We get at it. We get at all of it, and we say yes to the willingness to know, the availability, the receptivity to know that the greater realization of a presence of God within and around us is that which creates. And I know that we all know that I am speaking of God as presence, not personality, not God separate in the sky, but God as present, as absolutely enveloping us and embracing us, coming through us, dancing within us and around us. That is the presence and power of God. And we know it in this activity of community. We know it in this center. So I bless this center. I bless all centers, all churches, all paths to God. I bless all churches, all ashrams, all synagogues, all cathedrals, all ashrams, all mosques. Because wherever two or more gather, yes, there will be friction, and yes, there will be light. And we know that that light shines brighter as we seek to remember that right where we are, God is, and all is well. So I know that we seek now to know that God is expressing in that area of peace, of divine order for this country, for this planet. We bless our leaders, knowing that as we do so, whether we personally like them or not, that as we bless them, then the divine wisdom, that infinite wisdom, is being called forth and recognized, and is being lived and created from. Because that is who and what we are. That is the blessing. That is the truth. And I am grateful. So it is from that full and grateful heart that I release this word into the activity of spiritual law, knowing that it is already doing all that it needs to do. It is getting at it by means of us. So if you are in agreement with this, even a little bit, I invite you to say with me, and so it is. And together we say, Amen.